Hi, greetings. This is Dr. Nadeed L. Coming back to you with another video. Today I'm going to talk to you about DHA 808. I've been having a few messages that are asking to go a little more in depth and what entails in DHA 808. So, first of all, it starts off with more or less like it's a institutional review board application, right? Part of doing research at most respectable institutions or institutions of the United States. You have to go through the institutional review board. And what that is to say, yes and no, is this research is ethical? And this started from the Nuremberg trials, which you will have to learn. Your first part of the assignment you do in 808 is to get your it's a certificate to acknowledge about doing research on human beings, something around that regards through CITI, and that'll be one of your first assignments. You'll probably do that most likely by yourself. In my cohort in 2002, we had to do that part by ourselves. And and then so the next part is depending if you're in a group or doing this project by yourself, you have to come up with a thesis statement. Now, if you have not done any research before, I would advise you to start, maybe pick up a book on dissertations, things of that nature. There are thesis generators online where you plug in the variables or the parameters you're going to use and they come up with a thesis statement for you. You will get a chance to run your thesis statement through with your instructor, and I would advise you to take heed with, it might be still Dr. Hampton, what she says, you have to fix it, excuse me. You have to fix it in the beginning, otherwise you will have what we call like a snowball effect. Once that part is wrong, it's kind of hard to get to the finished product, and be on course. So with a thesis statement, I will give you an example. For my master's in public health, I did research on my target group was minority, Native Americans. One of the variables was regular oral hygiene checkups, and correlate that with oral cancer prevention. So I believe I used like the state of Nevada or something like that. So when you're doing these this research in target groups, you have to be aware of sample size. So since I use Native Americans, I have to be cognizant that in a particular area there might only be 100 Native Americans. I chose Native Americans because I knew that there wasn't a whole lot of research on that subject. So when you're thinking of your thesis statement or your research, you have to be mindful that if you're doing research on something that there's already a whole lot of research on, that can create a problem. And your instructor will let you know. Hopefully she does, you know. However, she will say it somewhere in her lecture. Maybe she might not tell you individually. Just keep in mind that when you're doing your research, make sure you have that niche. So, like I said before, mine was Native Americans between 14 and 17. One of the variables was that they tobacco use. You know, like there was a time where people they like to chew tobacco, you know, which affects your oral hygiene health. You know, and various other substances that they like to chew on. It's called peyote leaves or something like that. All those things affect oral hygiene, you know. And so I use that also. So then my other variables was obviously other races in that age group, and then I came up. So after that, I'll get into the next thing. Then I circle back to the research method, so we don't go ahead of ourselves. So part of the next section is your thesis statement, which I just went over, and then your literature review. Your literature review is the research out there that's similar to what you're talking about. So, for instance, in my study, I had to do a literature review, and I did on the research. I gave a lot of articles on tobacco use and oral cancer, and I also gave just literature on early measures of oral hygiene and how it could possibly help prevent cancer, oral cancer. And so I think I gave maybe 50 of those. Your literature review can be a bit extensive. There are the minimums out there. I think maybe he or she may want 25 literature reviews. However, keep in mind that this is something that you're going to be, this project is something that's going to carry on for you for the rest of your life. As a doctor, you're going to do research, and learning how to do research and sifting through literature after literature just helps you become a stronger scientist. So finding as much as you can would be great. I, for one, because me being in public health, I'd already had bought like American Association of Public Health, so I was able to buy those articles. Obviously, the university will give you access to certain articles that you can use, that you can read. You have to read them. It's not just putting together, say, like some type of like a bibliography where you just put the reference and the site, the source, and everything like that. No, it's you're entering the where you found the literature, right? APA format, right? And maybe a paragraph or so what that particular article talks about, you know. So it's as soon as you get the okay with your thesis statement, I would behoove you to start reading articles and finding whatever area you're in, because I know that not everyone It has a healthcare background. There are plenty of people that are that are just maybe business majors, social work, this, that, and the third. Um, you might want to, at some point, depending on what area you're in, invest in one of those peer-reviewed journals. If that's the area you're in, you're not going to go wrong. It's always it wouldn't be great if you are one of the people who publish one of those articles. Keep that in mind as well. Um, so after literature review, um, you also receive like this. It's like a template. Well, when I went through the program, there was a template where you go through the protocols. And when I talk about protocols, it's how many people you're going to have. Is it going to be some type of blind study? Is it going to be 20 people, 30 people, the age group? How are you going to do this study? Um, and so, with that being said, when you're reading these peer reviews, you're going to get a glimpse of what a study looks like. Their methods of how they did things. Um, so keep in mind to make sure you fill out everything that you're supposed to. Don't leave anything out if it's necessary for your research. Okay. So then the next part is research method. Now, if you do not have a research background, this might be a bit challenging for you. But once you have the idea of how you're going to do your research, and the way how this program is set up, um, uh, you have to use something dealing with human subjects. Like obviously there's research where you don't necessarily have to do that. So with that being said, I'll give you an example of the research method I use. So I use what they call SAS. It's a statistical software that two ways it can be used. It's free SAS Enterprise online, and also you can have it downloaded in your computer. Um, uh, there are a couple different ways you can use it. But this is the I use SAS Enterprise, so everything is online. And so what you do with SAS Enterprise is, okay, so where are you getting your data? Next part is data. How are you getting this data? So and if you don't know what the difference between qualitative and quantitative research, I have to let me know. Maybe I'll do a quick video on that. So this is the way how I did it was someone already collected data. So I used the CDC, right? So the CDC already had data on Native Americans, the age groups, and whether they use drugs, tobacco, things of that nature. And also how often do they go to the dentist or the doctor, okay? So with that data, the CDC has it where as though that data can be downloaded onto SAS, right? And so once I get the data downloaded to SAS, I can use some type of formula to choose to show this data. So I use chi-square. I use chi-square because with chi-square, it's more or less like, I forget the exact name for it, but it's like, because it's yes or no, as opposed to like if you have multiple answers, with Likert scale 1 to 5, then you probably have to use a different type of formula, maybe like like regression or something like that. So with that, I use chi-square, and and I plugged in the data for, like I said before, the oral hygiene checkups, oral cancer, or tobacco use, and I came up with these different type of graphs. So that's basically what you do with research methods. The instructor is going to go over many different research methods. Just have in mind what type of research method that you say you're going to use, and you have to show that you understand how to use that method. So basically what I'm saying is, if you say, oh, in this study, I'm going to use regression, well, how are you going to use it? So that's part of it. And there are two sections in the RME application where research method, and then there's something else that it asks that seems almost like the same question, but it's not. Keep that in mind. When you get to that section, make sure you ask plenty of questions. And with that being said, there were people in not my particular group, I was in group A, everybody done well, but there were people in just like A, B, C, right? And the other groups, there were some people that did not do well. And in previous classes, they didn't ask questions. And they were not keen on taking advice from the instructor. I don't know if you know this. Keep in mind that this instructor does this for a living. She does, well, the instructor I had, Dr. Hen, she does this for a living. Research. So you cannot pull nothing, over her when it comes to making sure that the research makes sense. It's not something that someone's already done, and it cannot be any plagiarism in it. Some people end up not making it because of plagiarism. So in my first video in 801, I mentioned about investing into Grammarly. Now, I don't like subscriptions. I understand if you don't like them either. However, the beauty of Grammarly is obviously it helps you with sentence structure, things of that nature, but it also helps you with plagiarism software. If you're writing everything out yourself, you probably won't have that problem. Just keep that in mind. Having Grammarly is a blessing, and you can use it in your everyday life. You can have it on your phone, on your computer, every time you write an email, things of that nature. Just make your writing better. Okay? And so, with that being said, other research methods, some people might use Python. Python runs around the same lines as SAS. You're entering data, and once you enter that data, you can manipulate it to come up with different sample sizes, different type of research. Also, then there's SurveyMonkey. So, when I was in 808, used SurveyMonkey because this was basically something very new. Wasn't a whole lot of research on it, which was good. Did research on tech workers in the Bay Area, and how did they do as far as health-wise, mental health-wise, and things of that nature when it came to COVID and had to work from home, So, so that was basically survey-driven, So with that being said, mostly what I talked about is data, basically quantitative research, where you're basically coming up with some type of statistical data, some type of statement that's saying, based on this research, based on the data that I have, that I've researched or that I studied, the results is this, So keep that in mind. Then there's qualitative research. Qualitative research is you can do interviews. You know, not all people who do dissertations do quantitative research. Some people do qualitative. Um, it's basically you really have to get with your instructor, make sure it makes sense. Like I've said in previous videos, people I talk to via YouTube or LinkedIn, don't be afraid to reach out to alumni. What I had to do, especially in my master's, is that I hired someone to teach me how to use SAS and how to manipulate it to do research. You know, there's quite a few different steps, this, that, and third, but also to how to write it out to make sure it makes sense and it flows. You know, so do not be afraid to invest in either. If you want to know, like, if you look for some people to maybe go over that with you, I have a few names. You can send me a message via LinkedIn or on here, and I can introduce you to some people that can help you with that if it comes to that. Just keep in mind, like, this is going to be your life's work, so make sure you do your due diligence. And congratulations to everyone that made it this far. You two-thirds in, and you're almost to the finish strong, and make sure you use your time wisely. I know that most people are working a full-time job, have a family and everything like that. Getting your doctorate is about sacrifice. And some things may have to fall to the side temporarily. And if you have family, it can definitely be a resource to help you out to pick up where you're having issues, because this is something that you end up having to put a whole lot of hours in. You have to be someone that's proactive and do as much as you can and go back to make sure you edit and everything like that. Because once you submit it, that's off. And you want to do well and be proud of your work. So that being said, I wish everybody good luck. And if you have any questions, continue doing what you've been doing. Make sure you subscribe. Never know when I might put out another video. And contact me via here or LinkedIn. Have a good one.